The car door clicked shut. I reached over to unbuckle Lena, but she was already staring at her lap, fingers white-knuckled around the brim of a pink bucket hat. She wouldn't look at me. Not once. "Hey, baby," I said, keeping my voice level. "How was spa day?" Silence. Just the hum of the engine and the quiet rustle of her small hands adjusting the brim. "Lena, honey. Take the hat off for me." I lifted it slowly. My breath didn't catch. My pulse didn't race. I just watched the reality settle into focus. Her hair, 14 inches of thick, spiraling auburn curls I'd spent years brushing and braiding, was gone. Hacked to uneven tufts. Close to the scalp on one side. Jagged on the other. Above her right ear, a 2-inch line crusted with dried blood. In her other hand, wrapped in a single tissue like a kept artifact, was the full braid. "Auntie said my hair wasn't fair to Chloe," she said, flat and rehearsed, "so I had to wear this." She repeated it the way children repeat facts they don't understand. No anger. No tears. Just the words an adult had handed her, carried perfectly, like a message in a bottle she didn't know she was holding. I didn't panic. I didn't scream. The switch flipped. Nurse mode. Observe. Document. Stabilize. They called it a family afternoon. I was beginning to recognize it as extraction. Have you ever watched someone treat your child like a prop? Drop a comment. I want to know I'm not the only one who learned to document instead of debate. I set the hat on the console. I placed the tissue beside it. I started the car. The harm wasn't accidental. It was calculated. And calculation can be measured. I didn't know it yet, but the next 72 hours wouldn't just protect her. They would rewrite the rules of our entire family. And it began the moment I stopped asking why, and started recording what. It didn't start with a haircut. It started with a rhythm. For 10 years, our family operated on a quiet, unspoken contract. Vanessa was the architect of the visible world. Aspirational single mom. Ring light aesthetics. Sponsor-dependent income. Every decision filtered through engagement metrics. I was the foundation of the invisible one. Foster care survivor at 22. Self-funded stability. The reliable backup who always said yes. Helen framed it perfectly. Claire has the patience. Vanessa is building something real. Family supports each other's seasons. I believed it. I thought stability was supposed to be shared. That if I just held the line long enough, the ledger would balance. But ledgers don't balance when one side is designed to perform and the other is designed to prop. I kept proof, not out of suspicion, but out of habit. The shared cloud folder labeled family_memories. I'd open it sometimes to see how our years looked through the lens. Lena's face was always there at first. Then, slowly, the framing shifted. Cropped at the shoulders. Then hat mandated. Then blurred entirely. Because the comments had started favoring her. That redhead is stunning. Chloe's cute, but the other girl is a whole model. I watched Vanessa delete those comments in real time. I watched her engagement drop 40%. I watched her pivot to the cousin makeover series. Harmless, she called it. But Lena wasn't a cousin in that frame. She was the silent draw. The algorithmic hook. The background texture that made the foreground pop. I wasn't a sister-in-law. I was a free talent pool with a pulse. At 28, I missed my own nursing certification exam to watch Lena while Vanessa filmed a day-in-the-life sponsorship for a skincare brand. I sat on the floor with coloring books while she adjusted tripods and rehearsed intros. Her text came through at midnight, "You're a lifesaver. I'll make it up to you." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. She never did. The makeup was just another shift. Another Sunday dinner where my place card read just Claire. Not Claire and Daniel. Not the Holbrooks. Just Claire. Like a guest who might not return, but whose presence was quietly required. The ring light lived in the corner of the living room now. Permanent. A second sun. It didn't illuminate the room. It measured it. And I learned to treat my own needs like background noise. I logged every favor. I balanced every compromise. I waited for them to see the cost. But erosion doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small, justified withdrawals. In quiet sacrifices that slowly erase the person making them. Love shouldn't be measured in metrics. And worth shouldn't be measured in availability. I thought I was building a home. I was just funding a stage I was never allowed to step onto. The invitation came Friday night. Helen's voice was polished, practiced. Saturday at 10. Face masks, nail polish, girls just being girls. I hesitated. I had a 12-hour shift starting at 7. I knew how Vanessa's living room was set up. The ring light. The tripods. The way fun was always staged for an audience. Helen heard the pause. Her tone shifted, just a fraction. Don't be difficult, Claire. Let the girls bond. 4 words. Heavy as stone. I said yes. I always said yes. Compliance was cheaper than conflict. Saturday morning, I dropped Lena off. She ran up the walkway without looking back. I went to work. I expected a normal Sunday pickup. Glitter nail polish. Maybe a little face mask residue. Normal things. Sunday at 11, Vanessa's SUV pulled into my driveway. 2 short horn taps. Like a delivery notification. Lena walked in wearing clothes I didn't recognize. 1 size too big. And on her head, the pink bucket hat. Pulled low. Fingers white around the brim. I lifted it. My clinical training took over before my heart could catch up. Jagged edges. Clean breaks where the blade had twisted. A 2-inch laceration above the right ear, dried blood rust brown in a thin line to the earlobe. Consistent with dull scissors applied with downward pressure near the scalp. Not an accident. A loss of control. I didn't scream. I didn't call Vanessa. I didn't call my husband. I drove home. I secured Lena. I sat her down with a book and a glass of water. Then I opened my laptop. I navigated to the shared cloud drive. Family_memories. I scrolled to Saturday. There it was. Cousin glow up _EP4 final.mp4, timestamp, 4:47 p.m. I pressed play. The ring light glared. Vanessa's voiceover was bright, rehearsed. Today we're giving the girls a fresh summer look. The scissors appeared. Silver handles. She pulled the braid taut. Smiled at the lens. Cut. At 2 minutes, 14 seconds, the blade caught the top of Lena's ear. Lena flinched. A sharp, small sound. Vanessa's voice went flat. Oh, just a nick. Sweetie. Cut to black. The rest was deleted. The file was exported. Rendered. Ready to post, I closed the video. The room was silent. This wasn't a spa day that went wrong. It was a content shoot where the talent bled. I closed the laptop. I didn't draft a text. I didn't plan a confrontation. I opened a new directory. Named it, Lena_evidence_log. I wasn't building a weapon. I was building a mirror. And mirrors don't negotiate. They just reflect. I wasn't planning a fight. I was planning a boundary. And boundaries don't need witnesses. They just need a line you refuse to let anyone cross. I didn't react. I documented. I pulled a disposable ruler from my medical kit and photographed the laceration. Natural bathroom light. Timestamp on every frame. I securely bagged the braid, labeled it in black marker, hair sample. Date. Time. Context. I didn't do it for court. I did it for clarity. Clarity doesn't require shouting. It just requires proof. I called Elena Marsh, my pediatrician colleague of 7 years. Off record tonight, I said. On record tomorrow. I need clinical documentation. She didn't ask questions. She just said, I'm on my way. Lena was asleep when Elena arrived. She examined the wound gently with a penlight, checking the edges without waking her. Laceration consistent with non-sterile scissors applied with force near the auricular area. She noted quietly. Risk of infection. No stitches needed, but it will scar. She looked at me over the bed. Didn't need to say more. The medical reality was already locked in. I opened a blank message to Vanessa. Typed, we need to talk about what happened. Deleted it. Typed, you cut my daughter and filmed it. Deleted that too. Words had never worked between us. They only gave them room to deflect, to reframe, to turn my boundary into my betrayal. I realized then that I'd been waiting for them to acknowledge me. Now I was documenting myself. And numbers don't need witnesses. I wasn't building a weapon. I was building a mirror. And mirrors don't negotiate. The next morning, I sat across from Sarah Whitfield, a family law attorney referred by our hospital's legal department. I didn't lead with emotion. I laid out the facts. Photos. Medical report. Video metadata. Sarah watched the footage twice. This opens a separate door, she said. Commercial exploitation of a minor without consent. She filed the mandatory reporter form with CPS that afternoon. Requested an emergency contact restriction pending review. I didn't send a single text to Vanessa. I didn't call Helen. I just waited. I organized. I prepared. Because I finally understood, silence isn't surrender. It's a boundary. And preparation is just self-validation wearing a different name. The backyard looked like a catalog. Pink and purple balloons tied to every fence post. A banner across the porch, Happy 9th birthday, Chloe. 50 guests milling with paper plates and wine glasses. And near the cake table, Vanessa's tripod was already set up. The red recording dot was blinking. Livestream active. Performance mode engaged. I walked in with Daniel. No Lena. She was safe at a friend's house, eating waffles and watching cartoons. In my hand, I carried a single manila folder. It weighed almost nothing. 12 pages. 3 timestamps. 1 boundary. Vanessa spotted us first. Her face did something fast, surprise, then calculation, then the smile that paid her rent. She didn't miss a beat. Okay everyone. I put together a little year-in review montage. Some of you might recognize a few moments from our fun cousin spa day last weekend. She pressed play. The montage rolled. Chloe at the beach. Chloe's school play. Then, an 8-second clip. Lena in a dining chair. Ring light visible. Vanessa's hands in her curls. Text overlay in cursive, cousin glow up coming soon. The crowd cooed. So cute, someone said. They didn't know what happened 4 seconds after that clip ended. They didn't know the rest had been edited out. I set my fork down. I stood up. The chair scraped against the patio stone. 3 people turned. I walked to the edge of the projector screen. Steady. The way I walk into a room when a child is coding. 1 foot, then the other. No rushing. No wasted motion. I opened the manila folder. Vanessa's smile cracked. Claire, are you okay? Did you want to say something? Actually, yes. My voice carried. Not shouting. Just clear. The way a voice carries when there's no noise competing. You called this a family afternoon. I'm calling it what it was, unconsented labor disguised as bonding. I turned to face the crowd. 50 faces. I laid out 3 items on the patio table. No drama. Just paper. First, the clinical report. Board-certified pediatrician letterhead. Wound measurement, 2 inches. Professional signature. Date stamped. Second, a screenshot of the video file metadata. Cousin glow up _EP4 final.mp4, timestamp, Saturday for 47 p.m. Export status, rendered. Ready for upload. Third, a thumbnail grid of 6 deleted photos. Even at low resolution, you could see it. Lena's hand pressed to her ear. A dark smear. The pink bucket had already pulled low. Vanessa stepped forward. That's private content. You had no right, you shared the folder 2 years ago, I said, voice level. You never revoked access. And you filmed an 8-year-old without consent for a monetized account. Helen moved to intercept. Claire, this is not the place for this. Let's take it inside. I didn't look at her. I looked at the guests. My daughter came home from this house wearing a hat to hide a wound. She was told her hair wasn't fair. I'm choosing not to hide it. I picked up the pink bucket hat from my bag. Placed it on the table beside the folder. She was told to conceal what was done to her. I'm choosing not to. The live stream chat, visible on Vanessa's phone screen, shifted. Guests passed the photos down the row. Sharp inhales. Headshakes. Hands over mouths. The confrontation wasn't loud. It was documented. Truth doesn't need volume. It just needs a quiet person who finally stops looking away. The fallout didn't come with screaming. It came with structure. CPS closed the initial review with a formal warning on Vanessa's record. No criminal charges, but the file exists. If another incident occurs with any child, it escalates automatically. Family court granted the emergency contact restriction by Tuesday. No unsupervised visits. No drop-offs. Third-party supervision required. Vanessa agreed without contesting. Smart, the attorney called it. I called it the first rational choice she'd made all month. By Friday, her last remaining sponsor posted a one-line statement. Her account went private Monday. Follower count dropped from 78,000 to 61, then 54. She hasn't posted in 14 days. The algorithm doesn't forgive. It just recalculates. Helen's circle fractured quietly. 3 women from her church group told Daniel they needed space. No more Sunday dinner invitations. No group texts. Just a slow, deliberate distance. Daniel moved into the guest room for a week, then moved back. We started couples therapy, not because I'd forgiven him, but because he wanted to learn how to stop defaulting to his mother's narrative. One evening, he sat across from me, voice steady but tired. I watched the full video, he said. I should have said something Monday. I believed her because I always believe her. I didn't offer absolution. I offered structure. Then learn to verify, I told him. Before you assume, I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting a boundary they refused to see. Consequences don't require yelling. They just require consistency. Recognition doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being undeniable. I had spent 9 years waiting for a seat at a table that was never meant for me. Now I understood, peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of boundaries that hold without you having to guard them. The system didn't break. It just finally reflected what was already there. And sometimes, that's enough. I spent 26 years believing that any family was better than no family. I sat at the end of the table for 9. I smiled through every exclusion, every place card that read just Claire, because I thought endurance was the price of admission. Now I know better. Belonging shouldn't require you to hide your child's blood under a pink hat. And if it does, it was never belonging. It was just proximity to people who needed an audience more than they needed a family. Documentation is love when silence is weaponized. Boundaries aren't walls built to keep people out. They're the floor you finally stop letting people walk over. And protection doesn't require permission. It just requires presence. What's one line you've finally stopped letting people cross? Write it down. Keep it close. The rest will quietly follow you. Last week, I watched Lena stand in a drugstore aisle, choosing a blue headband. She took 11 minutes. I didn't rush her. I didn't check my phone. I just let her decide what belonged on her own head. Always, I told her when she finally looked up. It was always yours. The day I stopped asking for a seat at the table was the day I built my own. What's one boundary you're ready to fund today?